The docking bay of Kepler Station smelled like ionized metal and recycled air. Lisa Chen stood at the observation window, watching the sleek human vessel maneuver into its berth with practiced precision. The ship's hull gleamed under the station's sodium lights. A Meridian-class frigate, maybe 40 years old, retrofitted with modern fusion cores but unmistakably from the third expansion era. Beautiful, isn't she? Alex Martinez appeared beside her, magnetic boots clicking softly against the deck plating. His breath fogged the transparent aluminum between them and the void. "She's old," Lisa replied, checking her datapad. "The distant shore. Registry says she's been through 6 refits. Hull integrity at 73%. Still flying, though. That counts for something." Lisa nodded absently. They were here on contract. Human engineers hired to evaluate the station's compatibility with various vessel classes for the Galactic Commerce Initiative. Kepler Station orbited a brown dwarf in neutral space, a crossroads where a dozen species traded, refueled, and tried not to kill each other. The airlock cycled open with a pneumatic hiss. The distant shore's crew emerged, 5 humans in mismatched jumpsuits, looking tired and underpaid. Standard freight haulers. Lisa made notes about docking clamp compatibility while Alex reviewed the fuel transfer protocols. "Hey, you two, engineers." Lisa turned. A Thessian stood in the doorway to the maintenance corridor, one of the station's many contract workers. The species was bipedal, roughly humanoid, with gray-blue skin and large, luminous eyes adapted for low-light environments. This one was young, maybe early 20s in human-equivalent years, wearing a grease-stained jumpsuit with a name patch that read Krev. "That's right," Lisa said. "Can we help you?" Krev's gaze was fixed on the distant shore, visible through the observation window. His 3-fingered hands trembled slightly. "That ship. I need to see the engine specifications." Alex exchanged a glance with Lisa. "We're just doing compatibility assessments. If you need technical data, you should submit a request through station administration." "No, you don't understand." Krev's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. His translator implant rendered his words in flat, mechanical English, but something in his tone transcended the technology. "My father died in one like this." The corridor fell silent, except for the omnipresent hum of station life support. Lisa studied the young Thessian more carefully. His jumpsuit was patched in multiple places. The tool belt hanging from his hip held equipment that was functional but decades out of date. Despite Kepler Station's reputation as a hub of interstellar commerce, not everyone here prospered. "I'm sorry for your loss," Lisa said carefully, "but these Meridian-class ships are pretty common. There are thousands." "The fusion containment array," Krev interrupted, his large eyes still locked on the ship. "4th-generation magnetic bottle design, tokamak configuration with hybrid plasma injectors. Am I right?" Alex's eyebrows rose. "That's specific and accurate. How did you know?" Krev finally looked at them. In the harsh station lighting, Lisa could see the exhaustion etched into his features, the kind that came from too many double shifts and not enough food. "Because my father helped design them, before the war." Lisa's stomach tightened. The war. It was always the war out here, even though humanity had fought 3 separate conflicts with various species over the past century. From Krev's age in the timeline of Meridian-class production, it had to be the Thessian-human border conflict, 42 years ago. A bitter, stupid war over asteroid mining rights that had killed millions on both sides before cooler heads prevailed. "Your father was an engineer?" Alex asked gently. Krev nodded. "Dr. Thevian Krev. He worked for Thessian Industrial Collective, subcontracted to human shipyards during the brief alliance before the war. When the conflict started, he was on a joint development station. The humans, they evacuated their people. They left ours behind." He turned back to the window, his reflection ghostly against the backdrop of stars. "The station was attacked. Thessian military, ironically. They didn't know their own citizens were there, or maybe they didn't care. My father managed to get to an escape pod, a human design. A small craft with that same fusion system, that same magnetic bottle configuration. Lisa closed her eyes briefly. She knew where this was going. The containment failed, Krev continued, his voice barely audible. 23 minutes into his escape trajectory. The fusion plasma breached the magnetic bottle. He would have had maybe 30 seconds before the radiation exposure became lethal. The pod's distress beacon transmitted for 4 hours before the power cells died. Jesus, Alex whispered. Krev's hands clenched into fists. I was 3 years old. I don't remember him, but I have his research notes. He documented everything, including the flaw in the magnetic bottle design, a harmonic resonance issue in the field generators. Under specific stress conditions, the containment could destabilize. He filed reports, warned the manufacturers, but production deadlines and military contracts took priority. He pulled a small, battered data drive from his pocket. I've spent 15 years working stations like this. Every credit I save goes to education, to engineering courses. I taught myself fusion dynamics. I tracked down every document I could find about those containment systems, and I've developed a modification, a harmonic damping algorithm that would have prevented the failure that killed my father. Lisa and Alex exchanged another look. The weight of what Krev was saying settled over them like gravity. That ship down there, Krev gestured to the distant shore, still uses the original design. I can tell from the plasma signature in their exhaust. They've done the mandatory refits, sure, but the core magnetic bottle architecture is unchanged, which means the flaw is still there. Have you reported this? Lisa asked. If there's a safety issue. To who? Krev's laugh was bitter. I'm a dock worker. No credentials that matter, no institutional backing. I sent my findings to the Galactic Safety Commission 3 times. Automated rejection. Insufficient evidence from unqualified source. I contacted human engineering firms. No responses. I tried Thessian authorities. They told me the war is over and to stop living in the past. He held out the data drive with a trembling hand. But you too. You're certified engineers with Earth credentials. If you presented this research, they'd listen. You could save lives. Alex reached for the drive, but Lisa caught his wrist. Wait, we need to think about this. Think about what? Alex stared at her. If he's right. If he's right, we're talking about a fundamental design flaw in thousands of ships across human space, Lisa said. Do you know what kind of liability that represents? The lawsuits, the retrofitting costs, the political fallout. We'd be ending our careers before they really start. So we just ignore it. I'm not saying that. I'm saying we need to verify everything first. Get independent analysis. Go through proper channels. Krev lowered his hand, the data drive still clutched in his fingers. His expression held no surprise, only a deep, weary resignation. Of course, proper channels, that's what they always say. He turned to leave. Wait, Alex said. He gently pulled his wrist free from Lisa's grasp and took the data drive. Give me 72 hours. I'll run simulations, verify your math, and if it checks out, I'll go to my supervisor. I'll make them listen. Alex, Lisa started. No, his voice was firm. We became engineers to solve problems, not to protect the status quo. If there's even a chance he's right, we have to act. Krev stared at Alex, his large eyes searching the human's face. Finally, he nodded. 72 hours, thank you. After he left, Lisa rounded on Alex. Do you have any idea what you just did? Yeah. Alex slipped the data drive into his pocket. Maybe the right thing. Maybe something incredibly stupid. But if I ignored this and someone died in a containment failure next month, I'd never forgive myself. Lisa was silent for a long moment, watching the distant shore through the observation window. The ship sat in its berth, old and battered but still flying, carrying its crew through the dangerous void of space on systems designed 4 decades ago by people like Krev's father. 72 hours, she finally said. We verify everything, and if the math works out, we do this together. Deal. Alex smiled. Deal. They returned to their quarters to begin what would be 3 days of intensive analysis. 3 days that would lead to a scandal, a recall, and eventually, fundamental improvements to fusion containment systems used across a dozen species vessels. But that night, neither of them knew what they'd started. All they knew was that somewhere in Kepler Station's maze of corridors, a poor alien engineer was lying awake, hoping that maybe, finally, someone would listen. And that his father's death might mean something after all.